Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome back to another episode review from the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Last time, we covered The Tale of Apartment 214, a Kiki story about a girl who moves into a new apartment building only to find she has a ghost for a neighbor. Tonight's narrative is another initiation story and features a couple of girls getting lost in a nightmarish forest. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this Season 3, Episode 3, The Tale of Watcher's Woods. We open on Betty Ann and her friend Sam sitting by the campfire, and Sam has a bag over their head. They're waiting for the others to show up to take off said bag. The others quickly arrive and are eager to meet what they assume is the new guy, and all of this while a thunderstorm is looming overhead. Okay, I've got a number of concerns about this opening. First, can we settle on an official initiation procedure? I mean, Frank didn't have to wear a bag on his head, but he did have to wear a blindfold to the camp and then tell his story with the blindfold on. Tucker and Sam had to show up with bags on, but got to take the bags off when telling their story. So, which is it, Gary? I mean, if I were Frank, I would be throwing a hissy fit right now. As you can tell.
Hey, watch it, man!
My other problem is the thunderstorm. I mean, sure, it's great for the mood, but what parent is letting their kids go to the woods when the sky is filled with lightning? I mean, even though the Midnight Society isn't in one of their own stories, I suppose, they still have Are You Afraid of the Dark parents that don't care about them, so I guess that checks out? Huh. Forget I brought it up. Betty Ann reveals that Sam is a girl and... Wow, do we run through the gauntlet of reactions.
The guy's a girl. Sam? It's Samantha. My friends call me Sam.
Let me get this straight, Are You Afraid of the Dark writers? Names like Day-Day, Weeds, and Jam are normal to you, but a girl with the name Sam is freaky? I mean, maybe unisex names weren't as common in the 90s, but a girl named Samantha going by Sam is not that weird. I knew a girl who went by Sam in elementary school. Now, if her name were Jennifer, and she went by Sam, I could see some confusion, but not this. Anyway, I mean, that's not even the most worrying of the reactions.
Yo, Sam, I'm Frank, and, I think you're the hottest thing around this campfire.
Oh, Frank. With lines like that, I'll bet you're just swimming in virginity. Let me show you how to put the moves on, okay, Frank? Yo, Sam, I'm Mike. And if you were a booger, I'd pick you.
Thanks. You can call me Samantha.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, in that last scenario, I was 12. Keep that in mind, because otherwise, not only is it a bad pickup line, it's also creepy. Anyway, the next to make a scene is Gary.
I think you're perfect. For the Midnight Society.
I'm sorry, Gare Bear, what was that? I couldn't hear you over the sound of your erection. Sam kicks off her story by saying that it's inspired by the woods and the many ancient legends that happen in them. Her story begins with campers arriving at Camp Grindlestone. We meet one of our two main characters, Sarah, a first-timer at Grindlestone with loads of merit badges from other camps, but no friends. We then meet Kelly, a regular to the camp who hates it there and wants to go home to be with her loads of friends. Wait a second. Is that a young Jewel State? I remember the first time I saw Jewel on television. It was on a little show called Firefly where she played the ship's mechanic, Kaylee. Oh, what a day that was.
I swear, like a shadow that's by your side.
For better or worse, till death do us part. Whoa! What happened? Where were we? Jewel State. Sorry. On Firefly, she was just the nicest person in the verse. So I imagine she's playing a similar role here.
No one touches my stuff.
Why does that sound so troublingly familiar?
Don't touch my stuff.
Kaylee, no! Kelly is clearly irritated by Sarah the moment they meet, and it only gets worse when she finds out they're in the same tent, which turns out to be an actual tent? What kind of shithole summer camp is this? Later that night in the lodge, Kelly has taken Sarah's vest with her merit badges on it and is making fun of it to some other girls. Sarah comes looking for it, but Kelly says that she hasn't seen it. The girls then hear a bat up in the rafters, which causes Kelly to insult a fellow camper.
They hate music. That is what you're playing, Sylvie, isn't it?
Sarah then notices a case over the mantel of the fireplace with 3 whistles inside of it and a plaque that reads, "Never enter Watcher's Woods. Ever." Sarah asks, what is Watcher's Woods, and Kelly explains.
It's a place where people get blipped.
The end of Avengers Infinity War?
Should have gone for the head.
Kelly elaborates that it's a place where people go missing and has been a legend since the time of early pioneer settlers. Sarah then asks, where is Watcher's Woods? A sensible question. I'm sure a place with a reputation like that is probably roped off with keep out signs everywhere. So, where is it?
No one knows. They say it moves like a shark looking for victims.
Then how do you never, ever enter it if no one knows where it is? Shouldn't you just shut down the whole forest if it's such a problem? According to the story, a few people have escaped, but ended up crazy, babbling about the demon guardian of the woods called the Watcher. I mean, if all he's doing is guarding the woods, is he really that bad? I mean, obviously he's a bit of a pervert since he likes to watch, but sounds like he could be way worse. It turns out the whistles in the case belong to 3 girls who disappeared almost 75 years ago. The anniversary of their disappearance will actually be the next day, but that's probably not important to the story at all, so let's just move on.
If you're going, go.
Kelly tries to scare Sarah with the Watcher's Woods story when this happens.
Rats! I hate rats!
I'm pretty sure that was a mouse, but hey, you're a kid, so I'm going to allow it. We cut to the next day where the seemingly only camp counselor is briefing the kids on their task to earn their nature badges. They're being sent out into the woods, in pairs, without adult supervision, for the entire day.
You know the woods pretty well.
That is what I'm talking about, Are You Afraid of the Dark Riders? Even if there wasn't some magical forest demon, some of those kids would be going missing. And why shouldn't they, right? They can't learn the harshness of adult life, like having to eat your trail buddy to survive if you're holding their hands.
Is that what we ate?
Sarah and Kelly get paired up, of course, but before the campers are let loose, they get the following reminder.
And remember, no fires. We don't want any accidents.
Uh-huh. I mean, I guess the camp's covered. Look, it's not our fault that the forest burned down. We told them, no fires. There was even an announcement over the PA. As Sarah and Kelly walk through the woods, this happens.
You gonna smoke? Yes. The fire warning is up.
I don't know what I find more troubling. That 12-year-old Kelly was about to have a cigarette, or that the only reason Sarah objected was because the fire warning was up. Wait, so the fire warning's only an occasional thing? Well, yes, officer, we do allow them to light fires sometimes, but the rule is you get to burn down 1 tree, and that is it. And we are very adamant about that. Kelly and Sarah have a moment where it seems like they might get along. Kelly offers to show Sarah a pheasant's nest if they can cut out early to go swimming. Sarah agrees, but my lying bitch sense is tingling.
Red alert! Red alert! Red alert! Red alert! Red alert! Red alert!
It's all your fault. You're such a chicken.
When they arrive at the nest, Kelly takes Sarah's pack and sends her through the brush. Kelly then bails, and we get the following shot. How long was Sarah looking for those pheasants? That made it seem like Kelly had been walking for a while to get lost. Anyway, Kelly stops to check her compass only to find it spinning out of control. While she's distracted, hers and Sarah's packs disappear. Short time later, when Kelly is walking along a path, this happens. I have to give them credit. That is a well choreographed scene with some great camera trickery to make it seem like the woods are closing up behind her. The sun sets and both girls find themselves in the woods alone at night, though the jury is still out on who has it worse. Okay, it looks like Sarah has it worse at this point, but the Watcher is played by the same guy who played the sheriff/security guard in The Tale of the Pinball Wizard, so if he's even half as dangerous here as he was there, then, well, she's probably fine. I mean, he was defeated by a super soaker, for f***'s sake. We cut to Kelly, who is talking to herself in an attempt not to freak out, when this happens.
Yes.
Kelly, what about that looks safe? Worst case scenario, you get abducted by aliens. Best case, you become the bride of the budget Goblin King. Actually, no, we've all seen him, so getting probed by the aliens is probably the best case scenario.
Logical.
Kelly ventures into the ominous light to discover... Oh my god! Did she just stumble into the Predator's base camp? Who the hell let that on kids' television? I mean, Kelly is remarkably unbothered by the skinned animal head and continues into the camp. I mean, I guess she's just not that bothered by floating lamps clearly attached to fishing line. Unfortunately, by the time Kelly comes to her senses, she gets snatched up in a net and meets the owners of the camp.
Welcome to Watcher's Woods. Dearly.
Those are the nicest murder cannibals I've ever met. It turns out when these three aren't telling Macbeth he's destined to be King of Scotland, they're the three missing girls from 75 years ago. They think that Kelly is the one who stole their whistles, thus trapping their souls in the woods. Kelly tries to convince them that she didn't steal the whistles and even offers to go get them for them. But, I mean, you'd have to be some kind of fool just to let her go.
A fool.
The ghosts reveal that they don't actually believe her and re-trap her, which is pretty messed up, but it's fitting for souls that have been tormented for 75 years. The ghosts threaten Kelly with a bucket of mice? Rats? I'm not sure. They look like mice to me, but they could be very young rats. And to make matters more complicated, Kelly calls them rats, but at one point one of the ghosts calls them mice. So I'll just let some professional who's watching decide. Mice or rats? Let me know in the comments. Sarah finds the camp and tries to free Kelly, but gets caught. She offers to go get the whistles, and at first the ghosts are hesitant, but she convinces them to let her go with a well-worded argument.
Just do it!
The ghosts agree to let her get the whistles, but with some strict observances. First, they'll keep Kelly with them, and if Sarah isn't back before dawn, Kelly ends up like the animal skull. Sarah starts making her way through the woods until she starts being taunted by the pervert. I mean the Watcher. The Watcher. She starts to run only to trip and come face to face with... Okay, we seriously gotta have a talk about who was sleeping at the censor office. Sure, it doesn't look super real, but a decomposing skeleton with human eyes is the stuff of a child's nightmare. And while we're on the subject of fear, what is going on with Sarah here? She starts off reacting in a way that seems normal for the situation, but then quickly just looks bored. The Watcher wants Sarah to come join him in the woods in one of the most memorable scenes in the episode.
Just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave.
Sorry, wrong clip. Anyway, she threatens him with the lighter she took from Kelly earlier.
Flame cannot harm me.
Maybe not you, but I could torch your precious woods like dry kindling.
Uh-huh. Well, you see, officer, she had to burn the forest down because she was being held by the Watcher, which I think we can all agree is an inconvenience at the very least. Now, being the dangerous demon that he is, the Watcher just laughs, blows out the flame, and slaps that lighter out of that child's hand before him. Or at least that's what he should have done. Instead, he just leaves. He just leaves. You get it? Because of the leaves on the ground. Oh, come on, you gotta give me that one. Sarah makes it back to the lodge, retrieves the whistles, and barely makes it back to the ghost camp before dawn. But as she does, she trips and one of the whistles falls into the bucket of mice rats. The only person to see this is Kelly, and she's terrified of that, so she doesn't say anything, and the ghosts prepare to execute Sarah. And then, in Grindlestone, they say, Kelly's heart grew 3 sizes that day. She conquers her fear, retrieves the whistle, and gets it to the ghosts just in the nick of time. The ghosts blow the whistles, breaking their curse, and disappear. And I guess the Watcher just watched all of this, because he sure didn't do anything else in this story.
Bullseye.
Sarah and Kelly are now besties, and they head out of the woods, making it to the road to see... What? Is that a ghost car? What is going on here? At first I thought this was going to be some sort of a twist where they were seeing the girls because they were now trapped by the Watcher since he magicked away their backpacks earlier, but clearly I was giving the Watcher too much credit. The girls are fine and get discovered by the camp search party who had clearly been searching for them all night, going as far as the road. The story ends and the group decides Sam's fate as a member of the Midnight Society. Seriously guys, pick a method, okay? Frank had the thumbs up, thumbs down majority rule. Tucker was a lock because of who his brother was, but still had a vote of sorts. And now we have this weird group huddle. Are there actually rules, Gary, or are you just making this up as you go?
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Gary tries to tell Sam that she's in, but she misunderstands and thinks she's out until Gary says,
It's gonna be real hard, calling somebody that looks like you Sam.
That didn't age well. In any event, welcome to the Midnight Society, Sam.
Took us 75 years, but finally we've got you.
Now for the review. This was another great episode. While I do think there were one too many marshmallows on the fire when it comes to the antagonists of the story, more on that later, the solid effects, acting, and scares more than make up for it. This is one of the better ghost stories from the show. The setting. When in doubt, go to the woods at night, am I right? As per usual, they do a great job with the forest scenes at night. They use some great lighting effects to enhance the eeriness of what would already be a tense situation. The only misstep for me is the floating lanterns in the ghost camp, and the only reason I say that is because I'm just not sure if they're supposed to be floating by magic, or if the ghosts tied them up using fishing line. Either way, it just looks cheap.
Oh, mercy, mercy.
The story is where things start to get a little muddled, but only because I don't think we need the Watcher. The character brings almost nothing to the episode, least of all being a threat. The ghosts are terrifying because they've gone crazy from being trapped in the woods. You could have kept their entire through line and just changed the reason for them being trapped. Maybe they were murdered in the woods, or a fellow camper took their whistles as a prank that went too far, resulting in the girls getting lost and never found. Or, if you want to keep the Watcher, he just needs to be more present, or threatening. His motives are never clear, and he doesn't try hard to stop Sarah, so why is he there?
What a nasty thing to do to us. You didn't use your head.
The scares in this were great, and not reliant on any cheap tactics. I think the animal skull and the human skull with the eyes in them were probably a little strong for kids, but the ghosts, the look of them coupled with their performances and the threats they made are just so unsettling. Younger me would have found this one scary, and it would have given me the perfect excuse to smoke when there wasn't a fire warning in effect.
We don't want any accidents.
The acting in this episode was mostly good. Sarah does a decent job and reacts naturally to most of the scary stuff, with the exception of that one interaction with the Watcher. Kelly was great. As much as it pains me to see my favorite spaceship mechanic being mean, she really made you hate her at first. She reacts well to the scares and has a solid arc, so in the end, you also get to see the softer side of Sears.
Great. We can be pals.
The adult acting in this episode was terrific. The Watcher was hard to judge as he does very little and has very little screen time, but the actor does a decent enough job coming off as a creeper. Though, I have seen him in other things, and I think that's just him being him. The ghosts, or hags as they are billed, were the standouts of the episode. All three had unique personalities and brought real menace to the story. The boss hag was given the most dialogue, but they all worked with what they had and worked well together to create some truly memorable villains. Fun fact, the boss hag was also Nanny in The Tale of the Lonely Ghost, and I much preferred her here.
We don't believe you.
Sam, this is my favorite initiation tale so far, and possibly one of my favorite episodes from the first 3 seasons. The Tale of Watcher's Woods meets the approval of the Midnight Society. The Midnight Society members poll on this episode was a landslide in favor of it, with only 4% of the vote being against, so my ruling stands. I want to thank the following Midnight Society members for participating in this video. Hey, that can wait. I've got some announcements to make. The following campers were caught smoking during a fire warning and will not be allowed to play classical music on the piano as punishment. Mike S., Peggy, Bridget, Kayla, Cassandra, Wendy, Scott, Lineal, Margaret, Lisa, Heather, Alexandra, Tommy, Jessica, JM. JM? I know you've been telling the other campers those stories about Zeke the plumber, and you better stop, because they are terrifying. Anyway, Rhiannon, Doug, Molly, Mike B, John, Jonathan, Chris, Danny, Nicole, Victoria, Paula, Carson, Jason T, Megan, I know you've been putting those underpants up on the flagpole, and it better stop or I am going to write a strongly worded letter to your parents. Sarah, Jason A, Stacy, Eric, Benjamin, Michael W, Timothy, Kendall, Brooke. When I am taking a nap in the main lodge, that is not an excuse for you to come bug me about your environmental concerns. Okay? That is when I get my beauty rest, which clearly I need. Moving on. Adam, Jesus, Mara, Kaylin, Ryan, Chelsea, and Turquoise Star 17. When I blow this whistle, your punishment begins. What did you all think of Sam's initiation story? Did you see it as a kid? Did you find it scary or meh? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the next episode about the tale of the phone police. Until then, are you afraid of the dark?
No fires. We don't want any accidents.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and a share. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified when more Midnight Society episodes go up. And we've got some other cool shows on the channel, so stick around, you might find something else that you like.